I always believed I had a family. Maybe not a perfect one, but a real one. 12 years with one man, that has to mean something. He was my anchor, my support, my partner. When he left for his trucking jobs, I missed him. When he came home, I cooked his favorite meals, I washed his clothes, I listened to his road stories. We weren't newlyweds, but we had a rhythm, familiar, quiet, stable. Everything changed when my adult daughter left her newborns with me. Yes, twins, a boy and a girl. They were so tiny. Pale, soft skin, little fingers, a faint cry when they woke up. She just came one day and said she needed to leave for a couple of days, but she never came back. Not in a day, not in a week. A month passed. Then 2. Then 6. And me, I wasn't a retired grandmother, I was a full-time working woman. I brought the babies with me to the store, to the clinic. I rocked them to sleep in my arms, silently washed their blankets, changed diapers, fell asleep at the kitchen table. He saw all of it, and I thought he supported me. I thought he was proud of me. But then I started noticing strange things. He was home less and less, even when he wasn't driving. He kept checking his phone, hiding the screen when I looked over. Mood swings and distance. I blamed stress. We all get tired. I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't giving him enough attention. I even blamed the babies, and then I blamed myself again for even thinking that. But the truth was uglier than anything I imagined. He was cheating on me. Not just with someone, with my daughter. They were together for 2 whole years, living under the same roof while I was too exhausted to breathe, while I changed diapers, washed baby clothes, rocked crying babies to sleep. They were sleeping together behind my back. My daughter, the girl I gave birth to, raised, protected. The one who sat on my lap when she had her first heartbreak, her first panic attack. And him, the man I gave 12 years of my life, my most mature years, my belief, my warmth. Together. Against me. I didn't find out because they confessed. Of course not. The truth never shows up willingly. It leaks out through a smell, a glance, a random word. And that's exactly how it happened. He thought I was asleep. He stepped outside to take a call. The windows were open. I heard him say, "Baby girl," that's what he used to call me. But it wasn't for me. I started putting it all together. Her trips to see a friend. They always lined up with his trucking schedule. Coincidence? No. That's when they were together. While I was struggling to get documents just to take the babies to a doctor, they were taking road trips across the country like a happy couple. When I finally saw the full picture, everything inside me burned. First came pain, then rage, then a kind of numbness. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just froze. I sat staring at the blank TV screen for maybe 20 minutes while the twins cried in the background. I no longer felt like a woman in his eyes. I felt like an object he tolerated out of obligation. Every word he spoke was like a needle, carefully aimed at deflating what little self-worth I had left. I would dress up, hoping to spark even a flicker of desire in his eyes, but he barely looked up from his phone. The silence between us grew louder than any scream. And when I tried to confront him, when I dared to ask what was happening, he gaslighted me. Made me feel like I was the problem. "You're imagining things," he'd say. "Stop being so dramatic." Each time he deflected, it chipped away at my reality. I began to doubt my instincts, my perceptions, my value. But the most painful part wasn't the distance, or the coldness. It was the moment I realized he had moved on emotionally long before he physically walked away. I found the messages. Late-night texts filled with emojis and sweet nothings that I hadn't seen in years. Not meant for me, but for someone else. Someone who made him laugh the way I used to. Someone who hadn't carried his children, who hadn't stood by him during the darkest moments of our lives. And still, when I confronted him, he denied it. Lied to my face with that same stone-cold calmness that once made me feel safe. Now it terrified me. It made me realize I was living with a stranger. But the worst betrayal? It was how quickly he erased me. How easily he rewrote our story. As if I had never mattered. As if our years together were just a footnote in the new chapter he had already started writing, with someone else. That's when the pain turned into something else. Not rage. Not sadness. But a hollow kind of awakening. The kind that makes you reevaluate every moment, every sacrifice, every choice you made believing love was mutual. And yet, even after all that, I still wanted closure. I still wanted to understand why. But sometimes, the truth is more damaging than the lies. And the silence he left behind? It screamed louder than any confession ever could. I guess, for a while, I convinced myself I was over it. That I'd moved on. That her betrayal was just a chapter one had closed. But memory has a cruel way of surfacing when you least expect it. It happened at a dinner party. Harmless, right? Just some wine, some old college friends' laughter. And then someone mentioned their teenage son getting his first girlfriend. How excited he was. How he'd bring her flowers, wait for her after school. Everyone laughed. But I couldn't. Because suddenly I was 17 again. Standing in the rain. Holding roses. Waiting for a girl who had already left with someone else. Not just left, laughed about it with her friends. The humiliation burned like acid. I never told anyone. And now, 2 decades later, I realize I never healed. I just buried it. Deep. And every betrayal since then? It was like peeling back that same wound. Layer by layer. So when Emma cheated, it wasn't just about Emma. It was about all of them. All the times I wasn't enough. All the times I was lied to, played, discarded like my heart was something disposable. After that night, everything started to unravel. I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. I found myself double-checking the locks on the doors, even in broad daylight. The house felt empty, colder than ever, though the children's laughter still echoed faintly in the halls. I kept replaying conversations in my mind, trying to find where I went wrong, what I missed, what I could have done differently. But there were no answers. Only silence. And betrayal. The worst was when the babysitter, the woman I trusted the most, revealed her true colors. She was not just a passive observer. She was actively helping them. Whispering lies about me, painting me as unstable and unfit to care for the children. Her husband was a cop, and he even threatened me, telling me that if I dared come back to retrieve my things, I would be arrested. I was crushed by this double betrayal, from those I trusted to help me, to protect my family. And my daughter? She stood there silent, cold, and then uttered words I will never forget. "Mom, you ruined everything." That was the moment I realized I had to leave. I packed the essentials, took the children, the legal documents, and left behind everything I had built. The house, the antiques, the memories, all stayed with them. What I saved was what mattered most, my children and my will to survive. I found a small apartment. A cramped one-bedroom with peeling paint, but it had heat and a kind landlord. The children slept together in one crib. I slept on an old mattress on the floor. All our belongings fit into 2 bags. But I felt relief. Freedom. Even in poverty and loneliness. Because the fear of someone knocking on the door at night and taking everything away was gone. One day I got a call from Child Protective Services. A woman's quiet voice told me they had learned about an attempt to sell my grandchildren. Yes. They had planned to sell the twins. My babies. To the very babysitter I had trusted. They considered it an attempted child trafficking. That's why my daughter suddenly wanted to take the kids back. Not out of love or regret, but to pull off the deal herself. But since I was their official guardian, she no longer had any power. The authorities stood firmly on my side. I remember the words over the phone. "Don't worry. They will never get those children. Not for anything." A few weeks later I found out he had kicked her out. My daughter. The one he supposedly destroyed our family for. They fought, and he threw her out onto the street. And who do you think took her place? Yes. The babysitter. She left her husband and ran off with him on the road. The woman who held my children's hands while I worked 12-hour days was now sleeping next to the man who had ruined my life. But it didn't last long. A month later he dumped her too. Left her somewhere on the highway like trash. And then he messaged me. "Hi. I miss you. How are you?" Just like that. As if nothing had happened. As if 12 years, my home, my grandchildren, never existed. I looked at the screen and felt disgust rise inside me, bitterness. I deleted the message. Didn't reply. Not a single word. He was always a liar. I just didn't want to see it before. When he was 21, he got 7 felonies. 7 in one day. Mostly nonviolent, but still red flags. But when we were together, he stayed out of trouble, and I believed he had changed. I told him, "If you ever go back to jail, don't call me. Don't write. I won't come." And he knew I meant it. A month after everything happened, he was arrested again. I don't know for what. And I didn't want to know. But the judge looked at his record and gave him 20 years probation with an ankle monitor. A warning and a sentence at once. After all that, I lived for a long time like in a dream. I didn't trust people, didn't open up to anyone. Even when a cashier smiled at me, I looked for a catch. The world wasn't kind anymore. I saw what the people you love are capable of. I knew the deepest wounds come not from enemies, but from those you let live in your heart. But time passed. The children grew. Little hands grabbed mine. First mama, first steps, first funny words. And somehow, inside, it became quieter. They pulled me out of the darkness. With their naive love. With their unconditional trust. With their existence. A year and a half later, I met a man. Not on purpose. I wasn't looking for anyone. He helped me with my car when I got stuck at the store. We talked. And then everything started to turn around. He didn't ask about my past. He was just there. When I first told him, he didn't run away. He said, "You are alive. You are strong. And you deserve love." At first, I didn't believe it. Then I got used to it. And then I felt alive again. We got married. Simply. Without noise. In the backyard of a house where everything was green and the air smelled like something real. The children were with us. They already called him Dad. And now, 3 years have passed. I don't look back. I don't seek answers. Those who destroyed have destroyed themselves. I just live. Every morning I make coffee. I hear little feet running. My husband turns on the radio and sings badly. And I understand. This is my home. It's not a perfect fairy tale. But it's my reality. Suffered for, prayed for, real. And if that ex ever writes to me again, I won't even see the message. Because there is no more room for trash in my life.